Hey everyone, Michelle here, personal trainer and lifestyle coach. Today I am here to show you what types of measurements we are going to be taking on a monthly basis. So for the most part, we will be taking the same measurements for each person. We will do pictures and a handful of different measurements. I'm going to show you each of those. So first of all, what we're going to do is take progress pictures. When we take our progress pictures, we're going to do 3 different poses. Pose number 1 is going to be from the front. We're going to go feet about shoulder width apart. You're going to be flexing, and then you're just going to hold. Second, we're going to go from the side. Feet can stay about shoulder width apart. You want to make sure that you are perfectly perpendicular to the camera, and then arms can go down by your side. Lastly, we're going to face backwards. Again, feet shoulder width apart, and the same flex as the first picture. Once we've taken all 3 pictures, we can move on to our qualitative assessments. So for our qualitative assessments, we are going to review things such as stress levels, sleep hours, and sleep quality. This is something that you and I will discuss together, but if you would like, you can put your numbers into TrueCoach so that we can get a head start on those assessments. For the sleep quality, it's going to be 1 is the worst sleep, 10 is the best. For stress levels, it's going to be 1 is the lowest number of stress, and then 10 is the most number of stress. So you can keep that in mind, and there's a key in TrueCoach as well. Once we're done with the qualitative assessment, we're going to go ahead and move on to your measurements. So for your measurements, all that you'll need is you'll need your weight. So if you can take that on a scale, and then also you're going to want a tape measure. If you can do the Taylor style of tape measure, that's going to be your best option. However, some of my clients have been super creative and they use an extension cord or a ribbon and then a regular tape measure. So that works as well. So once we're done with the qualitative analysis, we're going to go ahead and go into our measurements next. So all you're going to need is you're going to want your weight on a scale, and then you'll just need a tape measure. Now, some of my clients have been super creative and they'll use a extension cord or a belt or something, and then they're going to actually go ahead and just use a regular tape measure. So that is also an option. So what we're going to do is we're going to go top to bottom, and you're going to take 1 measurement for each of these. If you feel like it's inaccurate, you're more than welcome to take more than 1 and then just kind of average them out. So the first one that we're going to do is going to be for your neck. So we're going to take the end, wrap it around your neck, and we're going for the most narrow part of your neck. So not the top, not the bottom, but right where it kind of goes in toward the middle. Now my suggestion is obviously you can't see your number, so you're going to go ahead and pinch it right where the edge meets the end of the tape measure, and then go ahead and measure it from there. Next, after we do your neck, we're going to move on to your chest. So for your chest, just to make it super universal, what we're going to do is go right underneath the armpits. So it's going to be a little bit above your chest, and we're going underneath the armpits and wrapping around. If you can, try and do 1 or both arms relaxed while you hold the tape so that we know that it's in the most relaxed position. Then we're going to go ahead and read your measurement and write it down. After your chest, we're going to move on to your dominant side bicep. Now I know that it's tempting to flex your bicep, but we want to see what it is in its most natural position. So what we're going to do is we're going to go about halfway, right where the peak of your bicep would be if you were flexing, and then we're going to extend your arm out. Now this one's a little bit harder, so typically what I'll have people do is loop it around the back side, and then try and wrap that around till you get your number, and then we're going to write that down. After your bicep, we're going to go ahead and move on to 2 abdominal measurements. So these 2 are going to be a little bit distinctive. The first one is going to be at the narrowest part of your waist. So if you measure right below your rib cage, but right above your hips, there should be a place where you taper just a little bit, and that's where we're going to measure next. So wrapping again around, trying to find the most narrow part of your waist, and then taking that measurement and writing it down. Next, we're going to move on to your navel. So we're going to go ahead and actually go on your belly button itself and just wrap around from there. So on the belly button, wrapping around, and then write that number down. After your navel, we're going to go ahead and move on to your hips. So this should be the fullest part of your hips. So if you were to look from the side, that's where your butt sticks out the most. And then typically it's going to run right about your inseam on the front. So go ahead and wrap around. You can always have somebody help you with this one to make sure you're in the right spot. But we're going to go right around the widest part of your hips and then wrap around to the front. And we're going to write that down. All right, and then our last two measurements are going to be your thigh and your calf. So again, we're going to go dominant side for this one. For your thigh, we are going for the fullest part of your thigh. So for this one, sometimes it's a little bit tricky to distinguish, but it's typically going to be maybe an inch or two below your inseam. And again, we're going for the fullest part. Typically, I'll have people stand when they do this because as you pull your leg up, your measurement will change. So we're wrapping around, typically right around the bottom of your shorts. And then we're going to write that number down. And then last but not least is going to be your dominant side calf. So for your dominant side calf, this one you can kind of prop a foot up. And then we're going for the fullest part of your calf. So this is typically about 1/3 of the way down or 2/3 of the way up, wrapping that tape around. And then writing down that measurement. Once we're done with our tape measurements, if you are doing the mobility assessment, then we'll go ahead and take your mobility pictures next. So when we are doing our mobility assessment, we're going to go through a handful of different positions, and I'll go through each of them so you can get familiar with it. So first, what we're going to do is our upper body. So you're going to turn to the side for this one. We want to make sure that your glutes are tight and your abs are tight as well, so we're not using your back to try and compensate for that flexibility. So core is tight. You're going to put your arms right next to your ears, and then we're going to try to extend them as far back as possible. So from the side and reach back. Tight core. Second, we're going to go ahead and go into a T position. So we're going to put your arms in a T, about shoulder height, and then we're going to extend them back from there. And then the last position that we're going to do with your arms is we're going to put them back and together. Try to straighten them as much as you can, and then lift them up again from the side as high as you can. Once we're done with that assessment, we're going to go ahead and move on to your back flexibility. So the first one we're going to do for your back flexibility is going to be again to the side. It's going to feel a lot like the upper body one, but all we're going to do this time is actually arch our back. So from the side, our arms are going to go above our heads again. Once we're above our heads, then we're going to extend our backs as far back as possible. Then we're going to take a look at your back flexion. So we're actually going to dip down into a pike stretch and try to round your back out as much as possible. Then while we're standing, we're going to take a look at your hamstring flexibility as well. So we're going to do that pike stretch again, but this time we're going to try and keep your back as flat as possible. So then our next couple measurements are going to be on the ground. So the first one that we're going to do is a pike position again. So we're going to go ahead and put your legs out in front of you. They're going to be totally straight. Your toes can be pointed or flexed. Flex makes it harder. So if you want to get a little bit further, I would suggest pointing those toes. And then you're going to reach as far forward as you can while we take our picture. Then we're going to take a look at your straddle position and see how far forward you can go. So your legs will go out to a straddle, about 45 degrees on either side, hands on the ground, and then try to reach as far forward as you can. Then the last couple of movements we're going to look at is your hip mobility. So we're going to go into a 90-90 stretch. So one leg back behind you, one leg out in front. Goal is to get them about 90 degrees blocked. And then you're going to try and sit this hip as low as you can, tall chest, hands off the ground. Then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Legs at that 90-degree angle, tall chest, hip low. And that's it for all of our mobility stretches. So then the last thing that we're going to do is our assessment. We have a physical assessment, push-ups, sit-ups, and or crunches, and then our squats. We're going to do 1 minute of each and see how many you can fit into that minute. And our goal is to continuously beat ourselves every month. Thank you so much for watching this instructional video. I will also try to include some instructions on how to submit both your pictures and your measurements on TrueCoach so we can make each of our sessions as efficient as possible.
All right, so now I am going to show you how to put in your measurements on TrueCoach. So once you're logged into your TrueCoach, you can go ahead and click on your profile icon button in the top right-hand corner. You can do this either web-based or you can do it on your app as well. This profile page will take you to both your metrics and your progress pictures. So what we're going to do is go through your metrics. Again, you can put these in if you have time to. You don't necessarily have to. We can do them together as well if you feel more comfortable. So there are a couple of things that probably aren't going to change very often, height, age, etc. But then there are things that are going to change more often, or we want to at least keep track of, like your weight. So what you're going to do is click onto each applicable one. We're going to add a new result. Go ahead and change the date if applicable. Say that you measured yourself yesterday instead, and then you're going to press save. What this is going to do is keep track of our different points, and it's going to go ahead and graph it as well for most of these. Then we're going to press back and work our way down the list. Now, when it comes to lean weight and body fat percentage, those two are both calculated. So if you'd like to calculate them yourself, you can go ahead and use this US Navy calculator. This is the one that I have been using for you guys. It is not the most accurate, but it's at least going to give us a good basis and allow us to track patterns. So what you'll do is place your information in here: female, male, weight, height, waist measurement, hip measurement, and neck measurement, since those are the 3 points that we are measuring with the tape. That's going to give you your body fat percentage and your lean mass. Those are the two numbers that we're going to write down here: lean mass and body fat percentage. For stress levels, we're looking for stress from a scale of 1, lowest amount of stress, to 10, highest amount of stress. Sleep hours on average over the last month or so. Sleep quality, 1 being the worst sleep quality and 10 being the best sleep quality. And this is where you're going to put your tape measurements. Again, we walked through each of these measurements in the video, so you'll just write your measurements in here. The push-ups, squats, and sit-ups we can do together, so don't worry about necessarily testing yourself on that unless you have a friend that can help keep track of your time and reps. All right, so once you have all of your measurements in here, what we're going to do is go ahead and upload your progress pictures next. So we're going to click on Add Progress Pictures, and then it's going to have a date at the top, so you can change that if applicable. Then what we're going to do is upload the 3 different images: front image, side image, and back image. Now that's the only 3 options that TrueCoach technically has, but if you are doing mobility, you know that there are going to be a few other pictures that we are taking. So what I'm going to do is actually snap this in place, since I've already got my folder open here, and we're just going to drag and drop. You can also choose a local file if that is easier for you. So we're going to go ahead and drag that front one in, click Add. Then we're going to go to side, do the same thing, drag this one in. Once it uploads, you can click Add. And then we're going to upload our back one. And then go ahead and click Add. So once you've got all 3 images in there, you can press Save. and that will go ahead and save those 3 pictures. Now, if you are doing mobility pictures as well, what you can do is go to add progress pictures again, and we're actually just going to duplicate the date. So now we're going to put the exact same date, and you're going to go ahead and upload the rest of your images. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be front to front, back to back, right? So a lot of the pictures that we're doing are actually taken from the side. So you can upload them in any order that you'd like. It doesn't necessarily have to correspond or be the exact same every single time. The goal is just for us to be able to have a record of those so that we can go back and look at what your progress used to be and where you end up now. So you're just going to go ahead and keep adding those pictures in until you run out of mobility pictures to add in. And you can keep repeating this process. Once you've got all 3 in there, go ahead and save. And then all of your progress pictures are going to be here below. And then you'll just be able to view them depending on which ones you want to look at. Please let me know if you have any additional questions or if you need help doing this. But again, this will help save us a lot of time during our session so that way we can get in a little bit more work during that session as well and really take our time delving down and talking about goals. Thanks so much, guys.